Welcome to Girls Who Print Day that just keeps on coming, everybody. We've been having a great day so far, and this is the leading sales panel. I'm Kelly Mallozzi, principal at Success in Print. I'm girl number 2 at Girls Who Print. Thank you so much for staying with us. Some of you have been here all day, and I want you to know how much we appreciate it. So we're having a conversation with some of the industry's leading sales professionals and talking about strategy and generating results. So I am going to introduce these 4 fantastic females that we have on our panel today. Marina Gris Miñarro is the area sales manager of Latin America and Europe at Martínez Ayala Inc. Marina graduated in translation and interpreting from the University of Granada. She's a sworn translator appointed by the Spanish Ministry of Foreign Affairs and has a master's degree in international trade, total slacker. With more than 10 years of experience in international sales departments of different companies for the past 5 years, she's been part of the international department of Martínez Ayala SA, where she is currently leading the export sales operation of the company. She was also a recent guest on the Girls Who Print podcast, so you can go to girlswhoprint.net and give that a listen. Welcome, Marina.
Hello.
Hi.
Good morning. Hi.
So Sheri Robertson is VP of Awesome. It just happens to be one of my favorite titles of all time at Ace Designs. Sheri helps make her clients' products stand out with extremely unique print techniques, propping, and visual merchandising that makes customers and consumers stop and look while your competitors wonder how you did that. Sheri was recently named girl number 3 at Girls Who Print. Welcome, Sheri. Michelle DOTINGA, director of, and I hope I said that right, director of production equipment for Ray Morgan Company. With 20 years of industry knowledge, Michelle specializes in working with buyers who are looking for production printing equipment to enhance their digital printing business and looking to diversify their business portfolio and to drive competitive advantage in the marketplace. Hi, Michelle. And Nicole Carlson is an account executive at DS Graphics Universal Wilde. Nicole helps marketing and print professionals who are seeking to improve results, save costs, focus on high payoff activities, and reduce stress by reducing time to market and improving effectiveness. So thank you all so much for being here to have a very important discussion about sales and how we are navigating the post-COVID world. So Marina, I'd like to start with you.
All right.
When you are developing a sales strategy, intention and expectation are foundational factors. Why are we doing this? And who can we help? And what is the result we need? So I know that's a big question. I can go back and repeat it for you as we go along.
All right. Well, I think that it's really important to ask yourselves these 3 questions, because when you decide to sell and when you decide to export to another market, there must be always a reason. Why do you want to go out? It is because, for example, your national market, you already cope it, because your competitors are already out. And when and where do you want to go? In which segment of client do you want to go? There are also other things to be analyzed, such as, for example, the country where do you want to go? It's a country where do you can access. Is to say there are many things that must be analyzed. For example, there are many barriers, for example, custom barriers in the country of destiny. There are also other risks that must be taken into account, such as economic, political risks. So in this sense, prior deciding, establishing a target, you must ask yourself, why do you want to sell in each segment? And then once you have analyzed all these steps, to establish a target.
I love that question so much because it's very foundational, but it really is the basis of everything. Why, yeah. Right? So Michelle, can you talk a little bit about your why? Why you do what you do, and how that intentionality informs your sales strategy?
Thank you, Kelly. Good to be here. Hi, everybody. The why has changed a lot over time, and especially in the last 3 years for me. I used to sell direct from the manufacturer. I used to work with the manufacturer directly selling. And that's kind of what shaped my why at that moment when I sold for a direct manufacturer. And then I switched off to a different role where I'm still selling, but I'm more of a consultative selling in a dealership format. And that why now is more about, why would the customer need this? It's really about them. It's really shaping their needs, and then it changes how I approach them. So now that I can have more ability to sell other brands and sell other types of equipment, not just one, my why is much more meaningful to me, to be honest with you. It's meaningful because I don't have to be boxed in one place. I can just diversify. If I meet a customer that has a smaller budget that's just starting, they can be there, and that's their moment, right? That's their why. That's what's important to them. If I meet customers who need to make a large investments, that's a different type of customer that I'm, targeting, and a different solution. So, and especially since COVID, right? Things have changed for so many people. I have to empathize with all the shift that they go through, because even though their business may not be doing well, they still have to make changes, and their why is also important at that moment. So that's a little bit of my thoughts.
Yeah. Sheri, same question to you. Let's hear about your why.
I mean, very similar. I think that, for me, I pride myself on everything being account based, like this client's why is very different from that client's why. This person, kind of like Michelle said, your budget is very different from that budget. But at the end of the day, my job is to make every single one of them sell and stand out. If we're doing our job right, no matter what it is we're building for you, somebody's going to stop and look. And that's our why. Stop and look. And then, and this is the most important part, buy.
Right. How about you, Nicole? Hi.
Hi, everyone. Good to
Hi.
be here. Thanks for having me, Kelly. So I kind of look at this as like a two-part. There's like my why, and then like the customer why. So my why I do what I do is because I love it. I love the relationships. I love, would say I love the up and downs that I get from it, because at the end of it, I love the results that come from it. So it's like, oh my gosh, I can't believe we finally got here, and look at everything that we went through. And now you have a customer, or even myself, like I'm just happy with the end result. That would be pretty much my why, is that end result, and keeping people happy. So knowing that they can, everybody has their own why, like whether it's, campaign driven, or they're trying to save money, or they're just looking to move to a new vendor, whatever it be, no matter who it is, you always just want to like give them the floor to tell you exactly what they want and why, not necessarily act on it right then and there. Just have them blurt it all out to you, and then come back to them and let them know that you can make their why happen. And these are the avenues that you got to take to get there.
I knew the four of you were going to be the perfect fit for this, because the focus, the real takeaway here is that you're extremely customer focused. It's helping the customer. It's solving the customer's problems. It's being, responsive to them and going with them on that journey of as things change for them, and being able to come up with a strategy that solves their problems. So how do we know when the strategy is working? How do we assess that? How do we say, okay, my plan is working? Marina, can you talk a little bit about how you know when the strategy is working?
Well, we try to establish short, medium, and long-term targets. So there are different ways to measure how strategy is working, but it is something I think that you feel when your client is asking you things, and you answer properly and on time, and you are responsive, and do you want to help? I think that you feel that the things are going on the good way. So, and sometimes, for example, you start to establish a strategy on the paper, but then you have to adapt yourselves to the way in which the client reacts. So I think that on that when you feel that thing, you are in the good way.
Yeah. So I mean, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but it sounds like there's things to measure beyond just the revenue, right?
Yeah, that's
beyond the
it.
dollars. So
That's
what else can we measure? So how do we, again, it's like, how do we know it's working and how do we measure it?
For example, in my case, it's not only about turnover, it's also about, for example, our brand positioning, where I want to be. For example, when I try to enter in a new market, I maybe choose a client segment. And I said, for example, it has happened to me that segment is not the big one, but for us, it's important to be in that segment because it provides us an image of the brand where we want to be, because it is addressed to specific clients, because they print different, for example, they print specific jobs where we want to be. Mm-hmm. So in that sense, of course, there are more things, not only than invoicing, that are important.
Yeah.
Sure.
Michelle, I'll ask you the same question. How do you know when your strategy is working?
Well, that's a good question, because I was thinking about that, hoping that this year would be different than last year. And now looking so far right now, I think I know for myself and my goal in my career here, and I'm in the Los Angeles market in California. It's not as big of a market as you would think. It's big, but everyone knows everybody. So for me specifically, I know when my strategy is working when I'm seeing my customers refer me and I am being referred to others, right? So they're like, hey, you need to call Michelle because she has some ideas that might help your business. That for me is really it. When I'm consultative enough that they feel that I'm helping their business, that's when I see my strategy working. Indirectly, it turns into sales, but it's really, again, not about the sales and the revenue. It's about that trust and the momentum that you build. You work all year. Here we are in October. We want to see the results, but the results won't come unless we're really consultative and really approach the customers in a different way. And then they start pivoting that direction because they feel like that's the direction they want to go in.
And that's a great answer to the second question too. So the referrals really are I mean, you always hear people say a referral is the best compliment, right? That knowing that that people are saying nice things about you out there, and that's pipeline building, right? You're filling your pipeline with people who already know you and even potentially know you and trust you because of that automatic credibility, that they know someone who knows you. I was joking about this yesterday, that it's like you wouldn't go to a doctor without asking one of your friends, like, what doctor am I going to, right? So if you've got that automatic, like, they told me to call you, like that's a very, very big compliment and a testament to the quality of your work. So Sheri, same question for you. How do you know when the strategy is working?
Oh my God, so old school. So I'm going to just lay it out there. It's the numbers. At the end of the day, it's the numbers. It's the hard numbers. It is revenue. Like everything else is great. But for me, the scorecard is profitability. I have a business to run. And as much as I love everything else, hard numbers outrank everything else. So how do we make sure we're hitting the number? We don't wait until the end of the year. We break it. We break every quarter. We break every month. We break every week. We talk about where are we? How do we get there? What do we have to do? How do we make it happen? And that for me is about being intentional and being focused and making absolute certain that every single day, every single week, my team is crushing the number.
I want to go run a marathon right now. I'm like, whoa, she's on fuego. It's a great answer, because you're right. It's we can talk about feelings and we can talk about how great the relationships we have with our customers, but those of us that are going to be in business in 2 years have to put up the numbers and have to post the number and be filling the pipeline too. So what about you, Nicole? How do you know when your sales strategy is working?
So very similar to Sheri and Michelle. So yes, you want numbers. You want a lot of numbers, and you want it because data doesn't lie. So if you can show that to your customer. So for example, I do quarterly book reports. So we do this, these quarterly meetings, in the beginning of the year or the beginning of, onboarding a new customer. You set these goals that they anticipate that they will meet throughout the year. So you don't get too aggressive because chances are you will not hit them all. But show them something that is measurable and that they can attain and that you can help them with quarterly. And then you can go back and look at it. Oh, this is where we were here. And now we're here and we got X amount of butts in the seats at this event. And we reduced our, obsolescence is gone or reduced, but you have to show them numbers. You have to see the numbers, because if you don't have anything to have them measure against, where are you going to go? Are you going backwards? Are you going forward? There's nothing really to show them except, thank you for the work. See you next time. Like you need to, and it helps build the relationship. So that, and then as far as Michelle had said about referrals, I mean, that's the best compliment. I was thinking earlier about my customers, and I was like, what, I'm just really grateful because they have been all referrals and they continue to refer. So yeah, definitely referrals.
That's fantastic. So probably the biggest thing that has affected the entire globe in the last 18 months has been the shift to remote working. Whether you're working remotely or whether the customers are, without this being too obvious of a question, Marina, we'll start with you. How has remote working affected your ability and your strategy for engaging with your customers compared to pre-pandemic?
In our case, I think it's it has been always really important to be close to our clients because we sell in 60 countries, okay? And we are present through our dealers. So we do not sell directly to final clients. So at the beginning of the year, we always establish an annual business trip to visit all the partners where we are. So in a normal year, I spent just 1 week out of the 4th of the month in Spain. The rest I'm traveling. So, but last 2 years it has been impossible. So in order to be close to our clients, we make many virtual conferences with them each month or each 15 days in order to track how was the situation in each country, because each country has a different reality, and as the pandemic evolved, the situation changed in each country in a different way and in a different rhythm. So that's the main thing we have done, trying to be close to our clients. Unfortunately, we cannot be present physically, but we try to be close by phone calls or conference calls by Zooms or Meets.
So that's what I was going to ask you: phone, Zoom,
yeah,
all of it.
Yeah, all of it.
Okay, good. Michelle, same question. How has the pandemic and the inability to meet with people face to face or dealing with your customers potentially working remotely, how has that affected you, and how have you dealt with it?
So the beginning, the very beginning was very difficult, right? So it was super challenging because everything I do is in person, everything. And it's very old school sales, I guess, more old school than other industries. They want to see the print, they want to see me, they want to look at the proposal, and then they have a question and I have to go back and see them again. I guess that's the industry we're in. They're just more into seeing people. So that was a challenge. I connected with a lot of people over the phone. Sometimes we did Zooms, but phone was nice. I felt that during that time, not giving up, calling on everybody on the phone, they just wanted to tell you stories. We didn't talk about selling anything. They just talked about stories and what's going on with them, what's happening, what they feel, what they see. So that kind of progressed into, we're feeling more comfortable. Can you meet us again? And then it felt like, now I'm back to face-to-face meeting. I just attended a trade show in Vegas. So it's kind of progressed, right? But that initial 6 months, I think we spent a lot of time on Zoom. I think I spent time with you guys, Kelly and Sheri,
and we were
all like trying to figure it out, how we're going to sell, how we're going to do this. And all I did was I just called people, said, I'm just calling to say hello. I have nothing else to say. I don't know what else to do. Like, I need something. And that really helped. I had this one customer that he was like, well, I'm thinking of trading. Did you know you can return your BMW lease now? And you can return it early. They're taking them back. So I'm taking back my BMW. wondering if I should get a Mercedes now. And we talked about stuff like that, right? Because I didn't have any position to really enter into a sales conversation. But that was a good time to bond in a different way. I had to get creative. It was hard. I'm finally back to face, and I feel so much better about it. But there are my customers, they are challenged because we have a lot of their customers are not back. So we kind of kept thinking March is going to happen, and then it was June, and now it's September, and now we are in October. We don't know. So they are improvising. I've seen that their customers are reaching out to them from their homes, and they're starting back those projects, and with a little bit of trade shows and movies, right? Movies opening. So that helps entertainment, that helps posters, that helps booklets and boxes and subscription boxes. So those things are starting to happen, but my customers are hurting the most, to be honest, because their customers are not back. And they're actually facing a reality that some of their customers will not be back. So now it's starting to become like, okay, so that job is never going to happen. That position no longer exists. So there's a whole shift, and I haven't seen where this will end or how it will end. It's just like an evolving.
Yeah. How about you, Sheri? How has, other than doing virtual bourbon tastings, how have you been dealing with your customers virtually?
So, I mean, I think similar, for me, we're East Coast based. We have customers all over the country, and we've always been very connected, whether it was through phone. I'm known for being the world's fastest text messenger. If you don't know that, you catch me on text, I am crazy fast. So my phone blows up basically 24/7. I went from a person who was like, oh my God, please don't give me my cell phone number. Like everyone now, every one of my customers has my cell phone number. But I think the biggest thing, and I hope Erica's listening, the biggest thing I will say is we're a printer. So people want to have print. So even if people are working from home, get their address. Send them physical things, show them what you do, because right now people are missing that so much. It's not just the face-to-face interaction, it's the hands-on, it's the hand of the paper, it's the smell of the ink, it's all that sexy print stuff that like you're losing it. Like we're losing it. And I talk to so many people who are like, no one ever sends me anything. And I'm like, send me your address. I'll send you everything you want. I'll send you a whole kit. Like, what do you want to see? So my biggest thing is, and make sure if you take away nothing from anything I say, if you're a printer, send print, send people print. That's it. That's my thing.
Yeah, no, that's great. Nicole, anything different to add there?
Yeah. So when the pandemic started, my thing really was trying to keep that connection, but not in a pushy way or like, we're here, give me your print. It was more, we're here if you need us. And just, everybody was so scared, like, what's going on? We can't leave our house. We can't do this. We can't do that. Can you even touch your meal that comes in without getting something, blah, 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 blah. So, and I'm sure you've seen it on LinkedIn. I am a huge advocate for mental health awareness. And when people are confined to their space, you kind of go a little crazy, like you want to hear from someone, and everybody gets zoomed out, So during that time, really early in the beginning stages, we had we were on a meeting with Mindfire, and they had talked about this whole human to human connection. So we built a campaign on that based off of human to human connection, and we did a work from home campaign that you had to opt in, so that we weren't just sending it to your address. It's just basically you gave us your address, you opted in for it. It started as a 2 weeks, so every 2 weeks we would give you something relative to the pandemic that would help you. So like the first one, you couldn't get sanitizer. So we pulled sanitizer out of our inventory, redid these kits, and then we sent out sanitizer, and it was liquid gold. People loved it. And it was like, I love that, can you, and I was like, yes, I can send you another one. Yes, I can send it to your sister, your mother, your brother, your daughter, whatever. Give me the addresses. I'll add you to the list. This is not specific to our company. It's just human to human. If you If you like it, you want it, and you want to make somebody else smile, send me their address. I'll add them to the list. And this continued. So it was like 2 weeks, another 2 weeks, another 2 weeks. And it was like, oh man. So then we stretched it to like every 3 to 4 weeks. And really it was just it was fun for me because I could get creative. I came up with the copy. I had Erin, she might be on the call or not. But Erin also helped with it. But it was really just coming up with copy, a creative idea that when somebody got it, they would smile. They'd be like, oh yeah, I needed this, like there was just so many different things, chalk. So that, at one point it was, everybody making a canvas in the driveway. All right, well, you couldn't get chalk in the store if you could go to the store. So guess what? We had chalk at your doorstep. So this campaign just ended, gosh, I want to say maybe 2 months ago, when people were starting to go back in the office. But that was something that I thought was like a good connection, because it was, like Sheri said, you want to show them something, but you don't want to be touchy in their face because they have so much going on. They could have their kids at home, and they're trying to teach them and be on a Zoom call and going like this and, thinking of that, like, you got to know your customers a lot more, because if you're on a Zoom call, like if you have ever been on a Zoom call with me, I have a little dog that comes running over, and as soon as he hears the little noise, he's like this. So you get a look into, what's going on in your customer's world, which helps build the relationship. There's a couple times that, I've sent something just to, clients, whether it just be like stationery pens or whatever for their kids, because, they were, stuck at home. But I really feel like, the pandemic and being remote was torturous, but it also was something that you were united, because you all had to figure it out together. You had to come together. You all got Zoomed out together. And then it turned into, just text me, just call me, just check in. Like, it didn't even have to be a meeting. It'd be like, I'll just call you later. And some people were willing to meet up with you for lunch or coffee because they had to get out of the house. So that's really where.
Yeah, that's great. So this will probably have to be the last question. And this is something that I'm obsessed with. So hopefully you all are too. Prospecting. How has prospecting for new customers changed for you, Marina, in the last 18 months? Any changes?
Yeah, sure, many changes, because normally when we try to because we have just one partner per country, so the decision to choose the correct partner, it's a long-term decision, and it is something that you must be really sure where do you want to be. So previously we travel and we try to see the partner, but right now there are things that we cannot evaluate by internet, just by seeing the web page. So it has been hard this year to make prospects, because there are things that it's something that things that cannot be seen just by an email or by a call. So we try to not only to have emails exchanged, but we try to make video calls, because well, by face-to-face, I think that things can be more easier. Nevertheless, prospect has changed a lot. Yes, this year has been really, really difficult. I hope that for 2022 things will be smoother and
from your mouth to God's ears, right?
But I have to say, for example, that I'm trying to plan a trip to Latin America, and right now it's quite difficult, because some countries you have to keep quarantine and others not. So to establish a trip there is quite difficult to move between countries.
Yep. How about you, Michelle? How has prospecting changed for you?
Oh, it changed a lot. Sadly, in our industry, we had a lot of businesses that were depressed or are still recovering. So, those prospects were gone. They had investment ideas and they were going to move forward, and they're not. But as I started kind of moving along and chatting with a lot of people that I knew, I started noticing a pattern. There are growth markets. So I kind of there was a huge growth during COVID for labels and packaging and the food and all of this stuff. And then cannabis, the cannabis industry boomed and they were starting to print more, and digital printing kind of was going into that market. So I started noticing the pattern, and I thought, okay, I got to find who's doing this and who's successful. And just talking to a lot of people, I would know ABC company is printing for that industry. They're doing well, they're busy. So I started focusing on who was really growing and who needed to see new products, who wanted to invest in technology, and that helped. And I also started focusing on companies that I didn't know anything about. So cannabis is big, and they're very convoluted, very hard, and it's distracting to talk to them. They're not always focused. So you have to be totally like, okay, we're back to the subject now. And that's hard for me. Gotta be honest, I'm very like direct and focused. And if I'm doing a presentation, I'm very methodical, not methodical at all. They just like get up from the table all of a sudden and you're like, okay, meeting's not over. They're coming back, right? Okay, got it. So you just switched a little bit and that helped.
Yeah, Deborah's going, wait, the cannabis people are not focused? That's a shock.
ADD, right? I think it's all just ADHD, whatever it is. So it's helped.
It's called being high, Michelle.
What it is. Okay.
I'm sorry.
Well,
it's called in taking your medicine. Sorry, Kelly.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, I think what you're really saying though, is you were paying attention. You were realizing that there were industries that even as some were struggling, others were doing really well. Like you said, packaging and labels and things like that. So good for you.
There was a lot of investment made. I was surprised. I had a lot of customers made large investments and they were not scared. And I thought, okay, they're confident, they feel good. I had a lot of people who didn't, and that was good for them not to do so. They had to see. And they didn't have a point of entry into a new market. They had to stick with their business model until things shifted. And that was good as well. But I have to say, prospecting changed. I met new types of clients. And I'm good. That's good. Had to adapt. So I think adapt is one of the words we're talking about today. So it's a big one.
That's a big theme. How about you, Sheri? How has prospecting changed for you?
Yeah, I'm going to say very similar to Michelle, but I am going to, as I really think back on it. So very, very early on in the pandemic, there was a Girls Who Print call, and Deb said something, and it sort of was my mantra through everything, which is there are going to be winners and there are going to be losers, and you're going to decide. And that's exactly what we did. We said, who's buying and what are they buying? And, it was funny, that same call, there was a comment about like those customers you don't want to do business with, which is how we were. Like, I don't want to talk to the guy down the street that has like a pizza shop. Like, I run 1,300 units every single day of what I do. Like, that guy calls me, I'm like, oh, call fast signs. Come on, dude. But you know what? I will tell you this, that particular sentence rung so true with me that like all of a sudden we changed our whole mentality. We were like, how do we make it work in our shop for one-offs? How do we make it work for that guy down the road where we can do it really well and we can do it really profitable and we can find a way to totally change what we do and have stock product. We never had stock product. We're custom shop. We're print shop. We didn't have like a banner program. Who has that? Like, we didn't have that. We're a wide format shop.
Deborah, blazing trails as usual. That's fantastic.
But we had to have it, right? Like, that's what we did. We changed the way we prospect because we totally changed the customer. We were like, you know what? Those people that before weren't our client, now, not only are they going to be our client, we're going to hard target them. And that's exactly what we did.
Wow. That's awesome. How about you, Nicole? How did prospecting change for you?
So prospecting, and like even just connection of, if you're reviewing proofs with a customer, you couldn't do that during the pandemic. So prospecting kind of went down like the same road. It's just harder to reach people. Yeah, Zoom was easy, but to actually get in front of somebody and have that meeting and just, something as simple as a face expression can kind of tell you which way the meeting is going. But you build that rapport. So prospecting, it has been a challenge, but I am going to add to Michelle's comments about the cannabis industry and looking at different verticals. So that was one thing I was like, this business is booming. I want to get into it. It is not a easy industry to get contacts. So if you have seen my LinkedIn, I have actually, got a job as a part-time cannabis sales consultant.
Now that is going the extra mile right there.
but it's fun. It's fun. I mean, you learn so much about it and how, cannabis can help people, whatever. But you also figure out like, oh, they're not going to use my services. That's not the company that's going to use my services. It's the manufacturers that are going to use it, or it's these people that are going to use it, or they can't use it because they can't market it because it's recreational. So there's other factors that go into that, but really prospecting became looking at different verticals that were booming and go after them. Even if you have to go in there and work in there yourself.
That's so great. Yeah, I mean, paying attention to the trends, I hear a statistic and it lights me up when I hear like we're at an unprecedented level of startups right now because of the Great Resignation, So these are things you all know this because you are the best at what you do, that we're paying, what I'm hearing from you, we're paying attention, we're flexible, we are obviously very, very devoted to our customers and willing to be responsive in the ways that we meet with them and talk with them and engage with them. So I want you to know how much we appreciate you for being here today and hopefully shedding a lot of light for a lot of others here on some of the best practices for selling, as Sheri likes to say, crushing it. Crushing it. So
Excellent.
Thank you.
This was an amazing panel. Before I turn off the recording, I just want to add one more thing that I think that people should be breaking into, like Nicole has. And to your point, I've joined all of these construction association newsletters because Build Back Better. Americans, listen to me. This is going to happen at some point. Construction sites, blueprints, everything you could imagine for all of the building sites, ads for local businesses that sell steel-toed shoes, outfits, food trucks, restaurants. There is going to be an entire industry that needs print around this, and understanding how the construction people submit bids, win bids, what they need. There are wide format printers out there, very affordable, that print blueprints.
Yep.
Do you have any idea how many blueprints are going to be needed? But they're not going to randomly just pick people. Nicole has done it with the cannabis business. I do my own private research on that. Let me just say, I got my medical marijuana card in Florida and I've been looking around there, but now I am infiltrating the construction business. And I would suggest that, that's, as long as we're talking about prospecting, that is something to look at for the next 5 years, getting involved with all of that. So Kelly, this was your panel. I think you guys, it was an amazing job. We're gonna actually roll right into our next session. Did you want to say anything else before
I just want to say thank you to Michelle and Marina and Sheri and Nicole. Please, everybody, connect with them on LinkedIn. Let's stay in touch. I mean, we're all besties and we have been since the beginning of the pandemic. So obviously someday we're going to get to meet each other in person. But Deb, do you want to end the recording and start another one for the next panel?
I do. Thank you so much.
Okay. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you, guys.